The bell above the diner door jingled softly as a tall man stepped in from the rain, the sound cutting through the quiet clatter of cutlery and low hum of conversation. It was a small roadside place with peeling wallpaper and the comforting smell of coffee, a kind of halfway point for travelers, truckers, and locals who liked its simple food and warm booths. Keisha moved between the tables with the ease of someone who had been working there for years, balancing plates on her arm, refilling mugs with a smile that felt genuine even on long shifts. She was young but carried herself with a kind of quiet strength. Her co-workers and regular customers saw only the surface, a hard-working waitress who never complained, always polite, always kind. Nobody knew what her life had been before the diner or why she worked so many double shifts, why she disappeared quickly at the end of each day, or why she always wore long sleeves no matter how hot the kitchen became. It was her way of keeping the past private, a way of holding something precious close where no one could judge or pity her. The man who had just walked in was Victor Langford, a name that carried weight far beyond the county line. People recognized his face from magazine covers and business shows. He was one of those brash new millionaires from the tech world, famous for making and spending money in equal measure, famous also for the way he treated service staff as if they were invisible. He wore a coat that still glistened with rain, a watch that cost more than most people's cars, and an expression of boredom. He slid into a booth without looking at anyone, scrolling on his phone. He wasn't used to being in a place like this, and the tension around him was almost physical. Keisha approached with her coffee pot, polite as always. "Refill?" she asked softly. He didn't look up. "Yeah." "Make it quick." She poured, nodded, and turned away, trying to shake off the sting of his tone. She had learned long ago that some customers brought their storms with them. Victor kept glancing around, impatient, tapping the table with his fingertips. When Keisha came back with his order, he pointed at a small smear of sauce on the table. "You missed a spot," he said, his voice sharp, and as she leaned over to wipe it, his hand moved, not out of malice but out of habit, a kind of careless entitlement. His fingers snagged the fabric of her sleeve. In one quick motion the thin cotton tore, a sound that made everyone look up. The diner went silent. Keisha straightened, clutching the torn edge, but it was too late. Across her shoulder and upper back, revealed for the first time, was an enormous tattoo, a mural of children's faces arranged like a sunburst, their eyes bright and solemn, a date inked beneath them, and a line of text that read, "Never forgotten." The air seemed to thicken. Forks stopped mid-air, conversations died mid-sentence. Victor stared, speechless. He had expected embarrassment or anger. Instead he saw a look in her eyes that was deeper than either. Keisha's voice was low but steady. "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" she asked, not accusing, simply stating a fact. Victor opened his mouth but no words came. The arrogance that had carried him into countless boardrooms and parties was gone. "I'm sorry," he managed. "I didn't mean," she looked at him, holding the torn shirt closed. "That's what people always say." Then she turned and walked into the back, leaving him sitting alone with his untouched coffee. Around him the diner remained hushed. People didn't know what they had just seen, but they felt it was something sacred. In the small staff room Keisha leaned against the wall, trembling. She had kept that tattoo hidden for years. It wasn't decoration, it was a memorial. When she was barely out of college she had volunteered as a nurse during a hurricane evacuation. A bus full of children had overturned in floodwater. She had saved some but not all, and the faces of the ones she lost had haunted her ever since. The tattoo was her promise that they would not disappear into statistics or be forgotten. It was also her private grief, something she carried under her clothes so she could keep smiling while she poured coffee and counted tips to fund small scholarships in their names. Now a stranger had ripped that privacy open in front of a room full of people. Back out in the diner Victor sat motionless. The checkered tablecloth, the lukewarm coffee, the rain on the windows all seemed sharper. For the first time in years he felt ashamed, not for some PR scandal or bad investment but for the small, casual cruelty he had just inflicted on someone. He asked the cashier for the waitress's name but no one spoke. When Keisha came back out wearing a spare shirt she kept her chin high. "I'd appreciate it if you left," she said simply. Instead, Victor reached into his wallet and pulled out a check. His hands shook as he wrote. He set it on the counter. "For the children," he whispered. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. But maybe this can help." Keisha glanced at the amount, $10,000, then looked back at him. "Money doesn't fix everything," she said. "I know," he replied. "But maybe it can start something." In the days that followed, Victor couldn't shake the image of the tattoo from his mind. He returned to the diner, not as a customer demanding service but as someone who wanted to understand. He asked Keisha about the scholarship fund she ran quietly from her tips. She was wary at first, suspecting a publicity stunt, but gradually she saw that his remorse was real. He began helping her build a proper nonprofit website, donating more funds, reaching out to contacts. Word spread about the tattoo waitress and her memorial fund. Donations poured in from strangers moved by the story. The diner became a kind of unofficial headquarters for kindness, a place where locals dropped off checks and letters, where travelers came to eat and leave small notes of encouragement. It wasn't easy. Keisha struggled with trust, Victor wrestled with guilt. They faced skeptical journalists, red tape from the state about setting up a nonprofit, and their own guarded hearts. More than once Keisha thought about walking away, afraid of losing control of something so personal. More than once Victor wondered if he was simply trying to buy redemption. But each time they hit an obstacle they chose humility over ego, patience over anger. Slowly, their shared project grew. They sent the first group of children to school on full scholarships. They funded disaster relief training for young volunteers. They used the mural on Keisha's back as a logo, turning what had once been a hidden wound into a public emblem of hope. Months later the diner hosted a small ceremony. On the wall hung a framed photo of the scholarship recipients. Keisha stood at a podium, nervous but resolute, speaking softly into a microphone. "I thought my tattoo would always be a scar," she said. "But now it's a promise. A promise that no child is forgotten." Victor sat in the back row, eyes down. He hadn't asked for recognition. Keisha saw him and smiled, a real smile this time, not the polite mask she wore for customers. "We all make mistakes," she continued. "What matters is what we do after." The room erupted in applause. Even the tough truckers wiped their eyes. By the time the ceremony ended the rain had stopped and sunlight streamed through the windows, glinting off the coffee pots. Victor stepped outside, breathing deeply. He still didn't think of himself as a good man, but he had started down a different road. Keisha came out after him. For a long moment they stood without speaking. Then she said quietly, "Thank you for showing up." He nodded. "Thank you for giving me a chance to." It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a beginning. And that was how a careless moment in a small diner became the spark for something larger, a reminder that a single act of thoughtlessness can hurt, but a single act of humility can also heal, that behind every stranger there is a story you can't see, that sometimes the things we hide are the very things that can change others when revealed. Keisha's tattoo, once a secret, became a movement. Victor's arrogance, once his armor, became a bridge when he chose to lay it down. If this story touched you, please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what this tattoo means to you, or how you've turned pain into purpose. Your stories matter. And if you'd like to hear more true and inspiring stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to Be Kind Always and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Together we can spread compassion, one story at a time.